Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Relationship Matters TV. I hope you beautifully. Okay. Early, but I and partner, a
Can't hear you. Hi, can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Audio,
We have heard nothing.
nothing.
Maybe it's your headphones. Can you hear me now? It came on a second.
A little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Technology is wonderful when it works.
Absolutely.
And when it doesn't Well, work, it doesn't work. Well, I gave you all some glowing introductions. And hopefully that you'll be wait a minute, and it's all in the comments. Can't hear you, can't hear you. Hopefully that it will come across on YouTube. So let me see. I have some comments in here. Uh and no audio, no audio, no audio, no audio. Okay. So since there was no audio, what I'm going to do is introduce you again so people can hear how fantabulous you are. Okay? So let me go back and I'm going to do it really, really quickly this time. Oh, wow. Okay. So, first I introduced Reverend Jeanette Jordan, and she is the founder, pastor of Journey to the Cross Ministry, a multi denominational church providing visual worship experiences for caregivers and their loved ones who cannot get to the church building. She is the wife of 60 years to Dr. Robert A. Jordan, a retired pediatrician diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer in 2016. She serves as an Alzheimer's community educational facilitator, New Ideas Champion for Chicago, Alter Program Partner, a program whose mission is to inspire and equip faith based organizations anchored in African American communities to better support families affected by dementia. She's affectionately known as Pastor J. And she is also the co host of the podcast Women and Men of Faith caregiver support groups. She is the mother of five, one son and four daughters. Ooh, four daughters and adult daughters. Woo! And the grandmother of seven 4 grandsons and 3 granddaughters, and mother and aunt of her 19-year-old nephew, who she raised. Her life's theme is Here I Am, Lord, Send Me. And her go to scripture, Jeremiah chapter 21, verse 11.
29.
29:11.
29. I can't read 29, and it's right in front of me. Okay, the next one is Dr. Carol Rodgers. She is a counselor, a fiction and nonfiction writer, an international speaker, an international magazine columnist. She has so many literary achievements that I just can't read all of them. When she's not writing or speaking, she's busy crafting, and she creates formulas for lotions, facial products, hair products, and um, she's also an actress. Yes. Dr. Carol has one son, one daughter, and a grandson. Next
Two
is Brenda,
daughters.
2 daughters. Okay. I gave your 2 daughters to someone else. Okay, and a grandson. Brenda Tucker Jeffries is an international speaker and an award-winning author. She is also an actress. I have seen her in a couple of plays. I'm waiting for her to get her Oscar.
Yeah.
And she's a 50 plus model, past vice president of the Chicago Midwest chapter of Blacks in Government, and past vice president of the combined chapter of the Speakers, Publishers, and Authors Association. And she became Miss Senior Matteson, Illinois, America in 2022. And
Yay.
Brenda has one son and one daughter. I hope I got this straight, Brenda. And last but not least is my namesake, Janice Williams. Beautiful name, Janice. She is a licensed clinical social worker for the state of Ohio. She has provided mental health services to children and adults and seniors for over 47 years. She must have started when she was 10. Janice is one of the founders of Harambe Services to Black Families, and this is Cleveland, Ohio's first Black adoption agency. She's also a consultant to a substance abuse agency, and she is the mother of one adult daughter, and she has one son and a granddaughter. This is just some amazing women who I am very, very happy to bring to you. Now that we got that over, this is what I want to know. Is it so because all of you have sons? Is it different raising sons and raising daughters? Who wants to tell me?
Absolutely. 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 Yeah.
What's the
Um,
difference?
yes, I just heard someone say yesterday, I can't think of where I was, but someone pointed out that it was so much easier raising their son than their daughter. And all the women were nodding their heads. And I think it's because when you have a daughter, you feel a personal responsibility to be a role model. You know that you can't be a role model for a man, but for a daughter, you have an overwhelming sense of responsibility that you are modeling womanhood for this human being, and you got to get it right.
Okay,
Yes.
Pastor
I have
Jeanette, you got 4.
I have 4 daughters. I have one son and one son nephew. Now my son is the oldest of my clan, and yes, it was easy breezy raising him. I don't know if he has the personality that the majority of young men have. I don't know the statistics, but I do know that it was easy raising him. He was independent. He was loving. He was obedient. Um, and he just really never gave me any problems. He got into little stuff just like guys, will, especially when he got to college, especially when he was, what do you call that, going to be in his fraternity when he was pledging. They do a lot of little crazy stuff. That's why I found most of my challenges with him. But after that, it was easy breezy. With my girls, it wasn't so easy breezy. I have two older daughters. Dr. Jordan and I were married very early. We had three children, our first set. And then 13 years down the line, I had another child, a girl. Well, the two older girls, yeah, it was a challenge. It was a challenge, but I had to learn how to communicate with them based on who they were. That was the thing. I think once we learned that they are individuals with their own personalities, their own characteristics, their own likes, their own dislikes, no matter whether or not my parenting was consistent, I had to learn that I sometimes had to change my consistency based on their character. And so it took me 13 years to learn that because when my third daughter was born, I took a class on parenting because I knew I had not been the best parent that I could have been, and I realized that there was going to be maybe almost a generational change. Things were different. Children were different. She was more talkative, more academic, more needing answers, not the way I used to train my kids. Do as I say, do not as I do. That had to change. And so I had to go and take a class so I could learn how to communicate effectively. And so, but through that, even with my daughters, I learned that they are individuals. They have their own distinct personalities. And so I, being one, had to learn those three distinct personalities.
Okay, now let me come in here and burst this bubble. I have uh, I have two daughters and one son. The girls are the oldest, and my son is the youngest. I had no problem whatsoever with my daughters. From the time they were born until today, I have never had a problem. They've always been respectful. If they didn't agree with what I said, they always said, spoke up in a very respectful way. It was always yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And especially my oldest daughter, she never got in any trouble, never. Now, the second oldest one, she was a little more active, but she was never disrespectful. Now, let's get to my son. My son was the one who was in the most trouble, but he was the youngest, he was the only boy, and he was sickly. So that combination was not a good combination because number one, he was spoiled because he was always sick, and then he was the only boy. And but I mean, he did give me a little bit of trouble. When I say trouble, I mean like disrespect, And I had to let him know who Mama really was and where Mama really came from. And when he learned that, he got himself together. I think it was because it was that male, that testosterone trying to, he was coming into being a teenager, and he didn't have his footing yet. But I helped him get it real quick. And
So today he's 32. In fact, he'll be 33 this month, and he's very respectful. hmm So
Okay.
I take no credit for that. I give all the credit to God, because when those girls came along, I didn't have any problems. I was like, wow, wow. And then, he was respectful, but then he would like try you. Do you really mean this? Let me see if she means what she says. So of course you have to remind them, yes, I mean what I say, and I mean it the first time I say it. And once he learned that, things were fine.
Okay. All right. So, excuse me, Brenda. What about you? What
Well,
about your experience?
actually, I don't have a boy. I only have a
Oh,
daughter.
where did I get that from?
And I have twin grandchildren, a boy and a girl. And they're
Okay.
20, and my youngest grandchild is 7, and she's a girl. So I can
Okay.
remember when I had my daughter, and I woke up and I asked the doctor, what did I have? And I thought he told me I had a boy. And the first thing I said was, oh my goodness. And he said, what's wrong? I said, a boy. He said, no, you have a girl. I said, thank you, Jesus. Because I had seen so many boys growing up having difficulties with their parents. And I knew that if I had a boy, we was going to be fighting because I wasn't going through that. So, no, I don't have a boy. I have a boy grandchild, and he's fine. He's away at college, and so is the granddaughter that's away at college.
Okay. So while I have you on, before I go to the other ladies, um, I'm a mother-daughter relationship coach,
Mhm.
and there are so many. I I did some a survey and research, and then I found that almost 80% of the 50 women that I researched anonymously um, had issues with either their adult daughter and the mom well the moms had issues with their adult daughters, and their adult daughters had issues with their mom, and I was really surprised at that,
Mm.
because I know my relationship with my mom changed as she got older, uh, and I used to think, oh, this is just me, you know. And so what did you have once your daughter got to be an adult, or as she was getting to be an adult? What challenges were there, or did you have any?
Challenges that I had with my daughter was when she was a teenager, probably like 15, 16, when she started falling in love with a B, love, not love. And, as a parent, you would give them, recommendations and guidance and, try to lead them down the right path. And there was a point when she had started like getting a job and driving a car and getting her independence that I realized she wasn't really listening to me. So I came to the conclusion she's got to learn something the hard way. I cannot protect her always. So I got to let her fall a couple times. And I did. It hurt, but I did. And then later on in life, I know we were having a conversation about something. I wasn't really paying attention because I was at the kitchen sink, probably washing dishes or something. And she quickly got my attention when she said, Mom, you know what? I got to tell you this. I wish I had listened to you because you were right. And I felt like I had won the mega $1 million because it took her that long to realize that I was just doing my job as a parent. I wasn't trying to get into her business and tell her what to do, but I just told her what I thought. And she finally realized it and appreciated me for doing that. So I haven't really had any problems with her as an adult, and I am thankful for that.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So, Janice, excuse me. Tell me, what about you? with your daughter?
I was very interested in what Brenda was saying because it occurred to me that, and please excuse me, guys, I just got my voice back, so it's not in its perfect condition, but at least I'm talking.
You
But
sound
I want to
perfect to me.
thank you. I want to say that I think mothers and daughters go through stages. Um, I remember when my daughter was my first child, and I was an older mom, 32, and that was just supposed to be so old back then. But I think the stages are when your child is young, when your daughter is young, you are everything to them. You know, they want to be up under you, they want to put on makeup, they want to follow you. They're your mini me because you represent to them what a woman is. Mommy is everything. And that's why we talk about mini me's. But somewhere around the age of it's starting earlier and earlier, I'm looking at my granddaughter, but I think somewhere around the age of 11 to 13, these little girls who idolized you, wanted to be up under their mommy, wanted to be with her, touch her hair, somehow they start looking at you like, I don't think you hip. I don't think you cool. I think I was Jake for a long time with my daughter. I'm like, why am I Jake? Who's Jake? you know, but around that middle age, as your daughters have had a chance to see other women and be exposed to media and other interactions, they start critically analyzing who their mother is. And then they decide if you're cool. They decide if you're this, if you're that. And sadly, most of us come up short. I remember hearing things like, well, why do you talk like that? Or why don't you do what so and so's mother does? So you go through this period where they're critically assessing you. Then, by the time they hit the teenage years, they've decided they're smarter than you. And they're kind of patronizing. Oh, I love you, mommy, but you don't really know what's up. But it's okay, mommy. They don't really have time for you. You are the chauffeur. You take the girlfriends to the park. You pick them up from the mall. You take them shopping. You are an appendage. And your little heart is broken because where's my little girl who used to want to go have tea with me or play dress up? Now it's mommy, can you take me? Mommy, can you give me? Mommy, don't tell me what to wear. Mommy, you don't know what's in style. So your little feelings are hurt. I remember taking my daughter on what I thought was a mother and daughter little trip just to Columbus. And I figured we were going to ride in the car. We were going to go eat. That child didn't say nothing to me the whole ride. And I remember driving with little tears in my eyes. And she now tells that story because the good news is once they go through puberty and teenage years, they come back to you. They come back to you in their 20s because they realize they can't really trust their friends as much as they can trust you. You got their back. You were the one they can always depend on. So they do come back, but you're going to feel a little pain.
Okay, all righty. Uh, and I've I've heard different moms talk about that. Well, we used to do all of this together, and we used to do all of that together, and now she acts like she doesn't even know me.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's real.
Pastor Jeanette, tell me, can you expound on that?
Well, I guess my parenting style and the journey that I went through with my daughters were just so different. My husband went to medical school after we had been married 10 years with 3 kids. So during their growing up, he was working. He was either a medical student or he was doing his residency. And I was almost like a single mom trying to make sure that, all of my kids and especially my girls were safe and trying to teach them how to be young ladies, and trying to expose them to things that I had never been exposed to. Because I was raised old school. I mean, really old school. I could not socialize with anybody. And I was like an only child. Uh, because my sister was like 16 years older than I. So I had vowed that my kids would not be raised, especially my girls would not be raised the way that I was. So I tried to expose them to uh, being social, having friends and sleepovers and going to the movies and doing all of those things. And yeah, they became dependent on me. But my older daughter, she and my son were like buddies. So she really didn't have a need for me. I mean, they were just like, as the saying goes, white on whites. They were just entertaining one another. She was very, very obedient, did what she had to do academically, and, she had her friends. But then there was Krista, who was my third born, who then became alienated from those two. Krista looked different because Krista was darker in color, and her older sister used to tease her about being uh, you were adopted. And so they grew up like really butting heads. And I spent a lot of time trying to create a harmonious relationship in the household with them. And so I had to spend a lot of time nurturing Krista so that she knew that she was part of the family. The only way I could really prove to her was she part of the family. All my kids had this same birthmark. So I had to show her the stamp that she was a Jordan just like everybody else, and that she too uh, was being given the same love, but she didn't have the relationship that her older sister had with the brother. So I had to make sure that she had dance lessons and piano lessons and things that she felt that was just for her. And we really became, I think, closer than I and Allison, because I had to spend more time with her, stroking her and making sure that she felt empowered in a house where she felt that she didn't have any, because her sister and brother thought they ruled it. uh, but then 13 years later, I had Drew. And then Krista, the one that felt not empowered, felt empowered because she helped me care for the newborn. And so we had then a different kind of a relationship. She was my buddy. She was my care partner for Drew. And so we did everything together. Now, by this time, Allison is like 16. So Allison is starting to date. And, I had to get in there and teach her about dating etiquette. Brian was off going to college, and so Allison was kind of doing her own thing, and I was just trying to keep her centered. But Kristen, I had this bond of the caretaker for the baby, and so we became buddies. And I guess that's why I live with her today, because she was the one that listened to her mom, wanted to emulate her mom, uh, took the things that I said as as truth can be. She appreciated the wisdom that I had, and Drew just became the spoiled brat. And you can just
Wait a
imagine.
minute. Wait. So I don't know if you all watch
Oh,
Housewives of Atlanta, but if you watch, what's the what's the whole name? It's
Real
not just
Housewives of
yeah, the
Atlanta.
Real Housewives of Atlanta. So if you haven't watched it, watch it, because
No.
Drew Sidora is Dr. Jordan's daughter. Yeah. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. So Drew is a spoiled brat. I don't know that
She was
she
a
will.
spoiled. She was a spoiled brat, and she was the one that sent me back to school to learn how to parent. Drew
Oh.
was the one that was a conversationalist. She was the one, very respectful, but very smart. And if you disciplined her in any way, you had to explain to her why. And I realized that communication is the most important thing in the human part of who we are, is to learn how to talk to one another and understand one another. So I had to go back to learn. Yes, if I told her that she couldn't do something, then let her know why and why I said it and the consequences, what the consequences may be if she did not follow my rule. Not that I was going to spank her, but at least give her an understanding. This may hurt you, or this is just not good for you. And so, yes, she was the one though that she had all the dance lessons, she had ice skating, she did everything that she wanted to do because I was trying to be this different type of parent. And of course, as my husband began to make more money, we moved into an area where there were very few African Americans. So I had to make sure that she had the socialization and retained her identity as an African American child. So I joined Jack and Jill of America to keep that ethnicity and our culture going. So she got to experience a lot of professional things and meet professional people. And my other girls, no, at least Allison and Krista looked at that, and as they were growing, began to compare what they didn't have with what Drew has. And so, of course, my communication skills had to be on point because I had to let them know I was a product of my environment. So what I knew about raising them was not what I knew about raising Drew. And so they laugh about it today because they're all adults, but it was a different type of parenting. But then Drew was all by herself. She was this brat, and I figured that I couldn't. I was older. Somebody said that they had a kid older. They were 32. Well, when I had Drew, I was 39. So I was old, I thought. And Drew had nobody. Everybody else was growing up and then leaving. So Dr. Jordan and I had always said that we wanted to bless someone who needed a home. Their parent had given them up. So when Drew was 7, I think, we adopted my fourth daughter, Edila.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if you knew that story, Janice, but I told it at church in one of my sermons. I did tell it because people needed to know that you can adopt. I did not birth her out of my womb, but I birthed her out of my heart. And she was raised the same as the others were raised. So she became Drew's buddy, and Drew became her buddy. So those were the ones that grew up with the different type of parenting style. And so I would say they are the ones that really showed me the respect and the honor and took what I say to be of wisdom, and they still appreciate that today. Uh, where the older ones now sometimes want to have a diatribe or a dialogue with conversations that we get into, but they still treat their mom with respect and honor. Now, Krista, like I said, became my buddy during her time. And so when it came to having to change my normal to this new normal, because my husband lives in a long-term care facility, I chose to live with Krista because we have this special bond. We have this special understanding. She understands her mother very well.
That is really wonderful. And for Carol, Brenda, and Janice, yeah, I know Alice. Well, I know all of them.
Yeah.
And I knew the age differences.
There are,
And
yeah, there
yeah,
are.
and
There, Allison is 56. I'll tell it if they're watching, they'll hear. Allison is 56. Well, Brian is the oldest. He's 58. Allison is 56. Okay. Then there is Krista, who is 53. Then there is Drew, who has a age that we won't talk about.
I was getting
She's
ready to
an
say, I
entertainer.
know.
She's in her
I was
30s.
gonna say, I
And
know
then
you.
there's the dealer
You're
who's
not gonna
in
tell
her
her
30s.
age.
So yeah, that big gap, because Drew
Yeah.
could actually be my son's daughter. I mean, he's
Wow.
18. So I mean, that's the difference. That's the gap. And so, of course, Drew grew up, and Adela grew up with the technology and all of the new things that we have to learn about. Where the other kids came from old school, and so they, like I said, there was an old school way of parenting then that made parenting a little different. I heard someone say about their son, she had to let him know who was who.
Yeah, that was
And although
Carol. Yeah.
that was Carol. Although
Yeah.
I didn't have problems with my son, but maybe Carol, it was because at age 14, Brian thought he could box his mom. He thought, oh, Mom, I just let you spank me just because, I don't want to hurt you. And I said, excuse me? So I pushed the furniture back in the living room. And I said, we're going to box and we're going to just show who. And we did. And I boxed him, and he tell you the story. I knocked him so hard up against the wall. He slid down. I thought sure was going to have to call DCFS because I thought I had hurt him real bad. But from that point on, as a teenager, I had no problem. And so he knew who the boss was. And so maybe that's the boy thing. Although I do have a nephew that I raised, but he was just a different kind of a kid, kind of low key, didn't give me any problems. Really not real social, more of an introvert, more of a homebody. I had to kind of push him out to say, no, you got to get out of here and go visit a friend or something. So I've had just a multiplicity of parenting styles that I just can't put it all in one bucket because I've experienced a little of this and a little of that in all of it.
Wow. And that's why I would really wanted you on the show with me because well I knew that Allison and then Drew,
Yeah.
and I knew there was this big age range, and then let's we're gonna Carol, I want to talk about parenting styles. So I have a comment here from and I'm trying to show it. Gwendolyn Dunbar. She says, "I truly agree with parenting. With parenting should not be dictatorial, but with feeling, understanding, and realizing each child is different. I saw that with my mother, and I saw that with my mother, and I watched her learning process. Parenting is not a one size fits all."
Agreed. Absolutely. Perfectly said.
So, Carol, um, what is your parenting style? Is it old school or is it new school?
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with Gwendolyn Dunbar. Each child is different, so your parenting style has to fit each child. You can't treat each child the same. So I don't know if that's old school, new school, or any school, but that's pretty much how I raised my children because they were all different. I did have one daughter who was very, very fair skinned. You met her, I think.
Yeah.
And so she was in school, and when I would go to pick her up, her friends would ask her, they'd look at me and look at her, and they'd ask her if she was adopted because she was so fair skinned and I'm so dark skinned. And she was more outgoing than my older daughter. I used to like to dress them up and comb their hair and put bangs in her hair. Well, she didn't want bangs. And the other daughter, she didn't care. So I had to, adjust that. Okay, you don't want bangs? Okay, I can't let you wear bangs. One time it was the winter time, and she came downstairs in a bikini and some snow boots. And so what I learned from that is she's more my more creative child, more right brain, and my oldest daughter, she's more left brain, more linear. So of course I had to treat each one of them differently. So I wholeheartedly agree with um, with Gwendolyn.
So I have a question that came in a text. And so I want each one of you to answer this. And since we're talking with you, Carol, I want you to answer this first. What is the best and worst part of being a mother?
Well, the best part for me is just being a mother, just being there. I was blessed that I was able to be a stay-at-home mom because my husband, he made pretty good money, so I was able to stay at home and raise my own children and put my own self into them. So that was one thing that was really, really a good thing for me. Now, you said the best and the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have a worst part
Okay.
because I
Okay.
mean, even though, no matter what we've gone through, it's all been just a blessing learning them and being able to steer them, and just being able to, I just consider myself blessed to have been their mother. God could have given them to anybody, but he gave them to me. So I don't really feel that for me,
Oh,
that there was
okay.
not, in my experience, that there was not, because like I said before, my girls, I mean, they were so respectful and they're still that way today. And my son, he low key tries to get my opinion on things. He'll say, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think? And he tries to play it off, but I know he's asking me for himself. So, I appreciate that. So I don't have
Okay.
any bad things about being a mother. I absolutely love it. And I wish I'd had six instead of three.
All righty now. What about you, Brenda? What's the best part and worst part?
I think the best part for me is just seeing her happy, no matter what. As long as she's happy, that's great with me. The worst part is seeing her struggle to get through things that I can't fix for her. If I could fix it, it would be done, no problem. But sometimes I can step in and do a little bit, and I will. But just seeing her struggle to have to get to the point of where she's through and over something, that's the worst part.
Okay. What about you, Janice?
Well, I would say the best part is when you look at your daughter and you can see the progression. You can see in that little girl who started off shy, who just blossomed into this dynamo, take charge, handling her business, being independent. That is a joy. That's a blessing from God, because you put your best in them, but you have no idea how they're going to turn out. So just that feeling of thank you, God. Whatever mistakes I made, you muted them, but you molded. And this is someone that I like. This is someone that I'm proud of. Now, conversely, to me, the hardest thing is that very fine line between offering advice when they're not sure if they want it, when it's unsolicited, when you just want to, let me just whisper in your ear, but they may not want to hear it. So having to know when to hold them, when to fold it, when to give them the advice, when to hold back because you don't want to be resented. So that is a very fine line, especially when you have so much love for them. As Brenda talked about, you don't, want to see them fail, but you understand that with all that independence, you walk a fine line between being helpful and being interfering. So to me, that's the biggest challenge.
Okay. On We got a comment from who is this? Brenda talking life easy. Lemon. That's somebody you know, Jeanette. I see you smiling. And she says the best part is seeing them being productive adults in society. My daughters actually helped me develop as a woman. Wow, okay. I've learned a lot from them. All right. Okay.
Mhm.
That's I like that. That they helped you develop as a woman. So Pastor Jordan, what's the best part and the worst part of being a mother?
Well, I know Brenda Lamont, and she's awesome. However, and I agree with her. The best part for me is that all, I would say, my 5 kids and my bonus son have been productive and are productive people in this society.
Mhm.
They have all chosen careers that they love. They have excelled at their careers. I have one who's a director of contracting for a healthcare firm. I have another one who's a director for DreamWorks. I have another, my son is a director for a pharmaceutical company in Dallas, Texas. Well, everybody knows Drew is successful in her chosen career, and my bonus son, nephew, chose to go to the United States Army so that he could serve this country. And he's done well. He spent some time over in Poland, and he even volunteered to go to Romania on a special mission. And so they have all chosen and been successful in those career choices. And the best part of it is that I was their mom, and none of them chose, of course, my vocation or profession. Neither did they choose their dads. But even though we tried to push them in our own direction, we allowed them to choose what their dreams would be. And so, in choosing so, they have done successful. They've been successful. They're able to provide for themselves and their children. The worst part is me letting go and letting them. I'm one of those parents that I like to butt in and I like to fix stuff. We all go through things, we go through stuff. My kids call me every day. I mean, I don't know if everybody's kids, but my adult kid, well, I can't say Brian calls me twice a week. That's my son. But my daughters, I talk to each one of them every day. And of course, in talking to them, they may share what's going on with them for that day. And I always have some advice. And I'm learning now, so sometimes not to give advice, but sometimes just to listen. Because they're not always calling me asking for the advice. They just need to get some stuff off of their chest. So
Okay.
I have just, and you're never too old to learn. So I'm learning how to let go and let God, knowing that
All
God
righty.
will fix it anyway. Because I let them know God has fixed my life. And if he fixed mine, he's going to fix yours. And I let them express themselves and give them the space and the time that they need. So just cutting that umbilical cord is the hardest part. I've not yet cut it all the way. There's still remnants of that umbilical cord following me around with my children.
So we only have like a couple of minutes to go. So in one sentence,
I'm a pastor. Oh,
I know you are. Wait a minute. Wait, and I know Janice likes to talk. Brenda likes to talk. Carol likes to talk. One sentence.
yes, ma'am.
One sentence. Advice for mothers out there. One sentence, Dr. Jordan. One sentence. What's the best advice that you can give
Okay.
to a parent, to a mama?
Treat each child as individuals allowing them to be who they are, loving them for who they are, and letting them know that you appreciate and love them for themselves.
Okay. All righty. And if you would like to get in contact with Pastor Jeanette Jordan, you can go to Journey to the Cross Ministries at gmail.com. That's Journey to the Cross Ministries at gmail.com. Or you can also, come on now, go to, well, it won't say. But anyway, so for some reason, I guess it's because there's too many people on, it won't. But anyway, journeytothecross.com. And all right, now I will go to, there it is. It took a long time. You can also go to Women of Faith 007 at gmail.com. So now if you didn't get a chance to write any of this down, or you didn't take a screenshot, you know you can always go to YouTube or to my Facebook page and you will see that. So now, Brenda Tucker Jeffries, if anyone would like to get in contact with you, no, first of all, give me the one sentence advice that you would like to give to a mama, a mother. What's the best advice? One sentence.
Continue to demonstrate to your children in a manner that's meaningful to them that you care and love them no matter what.
That's wonderful advice. And if you would like to get in contact with Brenda, if you would like to see her model or see her in her next play, you can contact Brenda on LinkedIn. Brenda Tucker Jeffries on LinkedIn. Now let's go to Janice Williams. All right, Janice, give us one sentence. Oh, wait a minute. I got to unmute you. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, Janice, I'm a mental health clinician, and I would say that the mental health issues of young women right now are probably at one of the most precarious states that I've seen over 4 decades. So, my advice is teach your daughters to truly love themselves and to truly love God. If you love yourself and you truly love God, you will not abuse anyone. You will not allow anyone to abuse you. You will forgive yourself when you make mistakes. You will ask God for guidance. If you love yourself and you love God, your daughters are going to be fine. Mine is.
All righty. Thank you so much, Janice. And last but not least, Carol. What advice in one sentence would you give to mothers today?
First, I echo everything everybody has said. And I think that mothers should be good role models because girls, especially our girls, we're the first thing that they know about what a woman should be. So we should do what we say and mean what we say and not say one thing and do something different. We should listen to our daughters and spend time with our daughters and let them know they're important. And if we carry ourselves in such a way that we respect ourselves, that will help them to learn and to grow to respect themselves.
All right, that's the longest run-on sentence I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a run-on, but it was one sentence. One long run-on sentence.
So if anyone would like to get in contact with Carol Rodgers, she is at, you can get in contact with her at anointedtowrite@gmail.com. If you would like to see her as far as her acting career, she acts and plays. Also, what I really wanted to say too is that both Carol and Brenda are authors. So if you reach out to them, I am sure that they would be extremely happy to send a book to you, or even as being speakers, all of them actually. If you would like to have them to come and speak to you about, as far as Pastor Jeanette is concerned, about Alzheimer's and dementia. I've gone to one of her workshops, and she gives so much information on that, tips and tools of how to deal with that. And Janice Williams, I do know that you can contact her, especially if you know of someone who is having mental health issues. So I want to thank all 5 of you for being on the show this evening, and the Silent Fight podcast. She put a couple of, I guess it's going to come up there. Absolutely, the Silent Fight podcast. And so I wish all 5 of you a beautifully blessed, happy Mother's Day. And I will see all of you soon. As a matter of fact, wait a minute, let me put Pastor Jeanette back on. Uh, I believe I'm going to be a guest on your show.
Yes, you are. That's
I
going to
have to say
be
that.
the fourth Saturday of this month. We do every fourth Saturday, Women and Men of Faith Caregiver Support Group. And Dr. Janice Fortman will be our guest speaker on the 27th of May. We have people on our platform that come from all
June.
over.
Oh, no, you did change it to May. That's right. Right. You did
They
change
come
it to
from
May.
all over, and caregivers need support to know that they're not in this by a battle all by themselves. You see this little plaque behind me. It says BOAD, BOAD, which stands for Beast of a Disease, Alzheimer's. And so we talk about how to care for those who have had some cognitive impairment, those who may be living with Alzheimer's or some forms of dementia. So I'm so excited to have you, Dr. Portman, because I know
And
that
I'm excited to be there.
you cared for my girlfriend when she was struggling
My
with
mama. Yes.
Alzheimer's. Her mom was
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
girlfriend. So
Yeah.
we're excited. So if you could join us, it's 2:00 Central Standard Time. We go from 2 to 3:30, and we cry, we laugh, we tell testimonies, we hear stories, and we just become caregivers and partners in this journey together. So
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, happy Mother's Day to all of you.
thank you. Thank you. And it was so wonderful.
Oops. Sorry. They're cutting us off. This has been so wonderful. I hope that you got some valuable information. Mothers and mothers to be, mothers, grandmothers, mothers to be. I'd like to wish all of you, men and women, mothers and sons, mothers and daughters, daddies and daughters, a happy Mother's Day. I will see you again next week on Relationship Matters TV. So now I got a little video here that I'm going to play.